Hello and welcome back to the Integration Station, you beautiful souls. I'm naturally Ashley. I've got DP here and also Steve Mather, who is our guest today. We've got so many amazing topics to talk about with him. I'm pretty excited to dive into all things around nutrition, what he's been up to in the psychedelic realm. Also, I know you were at the Spirit Plant Medicine Conference too, so maybe we could dive into a little bit of that. And when I was out visiting you this summer, we recorded quite a few things, so I know the audience has all pretty much gotten like an intro into you, but you've done so much since we saw you too. Like I got your training done for
5-MeO.
5-MeO.
I'm in the middle of a cacao course as well.
Okay.
So
and that's
just in the middle.
We're all sharing in some cacao right now.
Cheers.
Cheers. What's been your favorite thing that you've really been up to lately? Like, what is it that's really lighting you up in this moment?
Just feeling blessed that I've actually been introduced to everything that I have. My steady line is didn't see myself here a year ago.
Right? It's so crazy.
And in that year, like each year is just more comes forward as I walk the path. There's just more It's an interesting pathway when you start walking the pathway to healing and you genuinely are searching for healing. And, I'm watching the pathway open for a lot of people. I'm lucky enough to be the intro to the pathway for a lot of people. And it just keeps opening up for my own healing. You know, I have to say the 5-MeO can help change the world. It can do a lot of healing in the mental health and addictions realm. In the experience that I'm finding right now, my own words on it is that 5-MeO is the antithesis to fentanyl. Fentanyl is super strong and rides in the waves of the dark. And there's not much past that, carfentanil and W40, but other than that, or W30, whatever the hell it is. But when you come to the bright end and the healing end of the spectrum, I'm finding that 5-MeO is the antithesis of fentanyl. And I have a feeling that it's going to be one of the very big tools to break the fentanyl issues that are going on. Because the issue with fentanyl is there's that many people suffering that they would do that drug. And the 5-MeO, I think, will not only help with the addiction aspect, but I know it helps with healing the trauma, which is the reason for most of the addiction. And it'll help with a lot of the mental health issues that are out there that are causing the people feeling like they belong there. Because truly, nobody belongs there.
No soul's meant for mediocrity.
People. That's a failing of our society. And, it needs to be addressed. People it's so common that people go, oh, look, more homeless people. Why? Why in this day and age with everything that we know? I'm watching science happen right before our very eyes, quantum computers running all this data. And, we can find that this quark rotates in the opposite direction of this quark here when we're doing this, and it'll analyze all of this. But what, you can't analyze how to fucking get the people off the streets?
Yeah, why is the quality of life for so many humans so low? It's why is there so many health issues? Why are people so unhappy? Why, there's obviously something not right. And this is the thing that always gets me about mental health and addiction, is that a lot of these things it's a human natural thing to feel depressed or anxious if something's out of alignment and not right. So it's your body naturally telling you that something's wrong. And the only people who are walking around thinking that they're normal are just really good at holding it together, but I think the people who are more sensitive, they're the ones who end up going to addictions and different things, which, the truth is a lot of people are addicted. Like, no matter what, everybody's addicted to something. It's just whether or not you're willing to discuss it. And again, those more sensitive people are open to talking about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah. Can you share a little bit more of your story for anybody that's new here, anybody that's watching live and maybe hasn't gotten the chance to know you or your story yet? Can you share whatever you feel comfortable with around your own journey tripping through trauma? I had to throw that out there because I love you, but also that's a push for a future book he's writing, by the way, tripping through trauma. So yes, keep an eye out. It will come soon. So yeah, just a little,
I've got the other one, the macro book of microdosing, everything I ever wanted to know about microdosing. It's at the editors right now.
Oh, so that's great.
I was hoping to have it out before Christmas, but
congrats.
You can't always get what you want. So, but I've got that one on the go. And the tripping through trauma, I've been writing and recording for that one for quite a while. Because there's, when I didn't learn about that trauma was the issue I had been trying to deal with my whole life until 2016. So myself, I've been a lot of behavioral descriptors and medications to go with them, which was interesting. I had a chat with one of my daughters yesterday, and I started talking about my background of, the being diagnosed ADD, ADHD, borderline personality, the same things that they've been diagnosed with, but they're behaviors. And then you get medicated for behaviors. And, I'm sure there's some people that do have ADHD that isn't trauma responsive. But if you've suffered childhood trauma, it's a good bet that most of those behaviors are because of the trauma. So in 2016, I learned that, it was trauma. And then I went on my hunt for data and info and healing. And, through that, I've also got a couple of daughters that are fentanyl addicts. They're currently in addiction. They're literally on the downtown east side in Vancouver here. We communicate when they have phones, but in addiction, they go missing all the time. But we have a pretty open, honest, and blunt relationship, and we're working on healing some of the generational trauma that was shared as they were growing up between us, because I've recognized that a lot of my normal behaviors for me are traumatic for other people. And we don't get to pick or choose whose brain picks what as a trauma. And we don't get to say, that's not traumatic. We don't get to. In my world, it's like, holy crap, I see things that have actually physically affected me because of the emotional content to those thoughts. And it's like, never would have guessed that was a trauma, because some of the traumas are so freaking loud that the other ones you just don't notice. But in healing, you start to learn the art of subtle and the language of quiet. And you get to view your past and your present and your future through different eyes. The healing end is beautiful. And in the healing end, I also found that there's a lot of tools that are required, and the natural tools are the best. And those tools range everywhere from the music you listen to, the visions you put into your eyes, the nutrients that go into your body, and the magic of the various medicines and what they can do for your vibration and your sanity.
I'm curious, Steve, like this stuff is so great and I'm so excited to get into the medicines and some of these tools you're working with now. But could you paint, a bigger picture on what it looked like, the tools that you used before you knew, or how you use these tools? Because some of them have been in your life for a long time, like cannabis and mushrooms and things. How is it, different, your life prior to 2016 versus where you're going on your journey now and how all that's kind of transitioned?
Prior to knowing, or prior to finding out and going on the research end, I was completely reactive behavior. So even my cannabis use was reactive. It wasn't conscious action. We have an endocannabinoid system, and if you've given it cannabinoids, it'll want them again. They're part of healing. It's the second largest system in our body. The only system bigger is our nervous system. We've depleted it for 3 generations. So, I was using it, and I found that in working with a lot of people and in a community of people that have suffered a lot of traumas, that I find that most of them would self-medicate, and cannabis was a big self-medication. Now, the processing of trauma data, of any data, if your brain is working hard and working overtime, you're burning as much energy as if you're jogging. And your systems are going to require replenishment. And our endocannabinoid system, without CB2 receptor engaged, your body isn't going into healing. That's an imperative part of healing. So it's an imperative part of your own functioning as well. And people that run in trauma or in PTSD, they're running on cortisol and adrenaline 24 hours a day. And the amount of energy they burn, being hyper-vigilant, hyper-aware, watching, analyzing, overanalyzing, overwatching, put it together. It's got all fit. If it doesn't fit, look for the enemy. Right? It's just going. And the cannabis, if you smoke it, depending on the strain, can bring things to a complete quiet. For me, there are certain indicas that I'll smoke them and everything just goes quiet and I go, and I can go to sleep. Now this was prior, because as I'm learning more subtle and learning more about the medicinal aspects, everything is changing for me. But at that time, my quietest version of subtle was most people's version of loud. So it required high amounts of cannabis. As I learned about, in 2000 or so, I actually, I'm bad with numbers. I can't even remember the year. But when I learned about, Phoenix tears and ingesting it, it brought a whole new light into place. Because now if you treat the plant as medicine and you extract the oil from it as a whole plant medicine, and you get all of the terpenes or most of the terpenes, and you get all of the cannabinoids or most of the cannabinoids, and if you use multiple strains, you can, you get a nice bouquet. What it can do for the healing is so much more different. And personally, the smoking thing, I think, was a program run on society, because that's all anybody thinks about when they think about cannabis, is the smoking. And smoking's bad for your lungs, and cannabis, and the program that was run, and people just think that aspect, which dismisses the health aspect of ingesting it. And there's people, my friend Gene Greenwood, he runs Chemo Days and Pain-Free Nights. He runs a channel. And he's the only surviving liver cancer person from 2019, and he was doing 7 to 10 grams of cannabis oil a day.
Wow.
And people go, that's crazy. He's still alive. Yeah. He's out there sharing his products and sharing oil with other cancer patients. He's sharing his truth.
Yeah. You have to overload it.
Still alive.
Yeah, you have to overload that system with all those cannabinoids and really get those receptors going, because that is the medicine. And that's why I think a lot, with like the smoke and mirrors of the CBD industry as a heal-all snake oil type of thing. You need the whole plant medicine.
It's the whole plant. Yeah. Yes.
But CBD is a medicine.
Yes,
absolutely. It's a medicine. They've extracted, and they're medicines, and they have their place.
But that's what Big Pharma has done to medicines since the beginning, and this is why we have an opium crisis or an opioid crisis, is like because of these extractions. This is why like cocaine, people get so crazy and addicted to it, and it causes issues in their life and families. Is because it's been extracted.
I find that if you're walking the healing path, then whole plant is the way to go. And, I have discussions with people about nutrition all the time and various aspects of nutrition. But, the one thing I stick to is whole plant.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you can't use the extractions. It just means somehow use the whole plant. Like when you're making hash, make sure that you're also making oil and something that you can ingest, and like somehow getting it, like using it all.
Yeah, and people don't know you can juice cannabis. You won't get high. You're getting the acid form of it before it's been converted, but you're still getting the content. You're still getting the cannabinoids that are required to reset your system.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's misunderstood. But with that, if you've got if you're battling any diseases and you're taking the high cannabis oil, high content, FICO, full extract cannabis oil or whole plant extracts, adding the nutrition in takes it to a whole nother level. Adding the mycology end takes it to a whole nother level. There's people that have, beat cancer and heavy duty immunodiseases just with diet. Changing to whole plant, high density nutrition, whole plant, and they win. There's people that have done it, yes.
Can you share some of how you're helping cancer patients with nutrition right now? Because
the ultimate greens, high in sulforaphane, great for fighting cancer.
And not just cancer, like you want this for inflammation in your body. Inflammation is what is the leading cause of any disease and sickness. And yeah, our bodies do need to build up immunity, so we get sick no matter how healthy you are. But
not only that, I mean, today's like it's hard to get a lot of this stuff into your diet.
You have to get it.
Groceries are expensive.
This one right here, the Super C Veg, that one's a monster. That's the thyroid reset. Like if people are having some thyroid issues, that stuff there, double up on it. Do 10 of them. People go, oh, it's a lot of pills. They're not pills. They're capsules of food. And you can dump them into your shake. You might not like the taste of your shake after you do. That's why they're in capsules. But seriously, if you have thyroid issues, that stuff is just magic. Serious.
You guys got these ones too that are real food, like for seasoning foods. We use this stuff on everything.
That's awesome. Cecil loved that because we've actually, because we push so much on the other lines, these spices have sat on the back burner. And we were just chatting, and he's gonna get his spice line
and a huge variety. And
yeah,
you got the black garlic in there, like all kinds of good stuff that people don't always get or know that much about. A lot of the ingredients you're using, like they're not the easiest to come by. You do, have, being two men, you guys have the more scientific side of the brain, where you guys have been using a lot of different things to make these work as effectively as possible. You put a lot of effort into it consistently.
Well, on those, see these products here, the Addies is myself and John, and we're the ones that do all the all the work and research on that. The biodefenders, that's Carrie. That's my buddy Cease. He's just a genius on nutrition. And
yes. But you're the face of it all.
Oh man, that's one homely face for it all.
So do you want to talk about, these are some of the micro doses, and one is the Scoobies and the other one is the main event with lion's mane. Do you want to kind of go about how the different adaptogens and things you have within them kind of help, and how that might be tailored towards how you're trying to microdose?
The Scoobies is a little bit more powerful. There's actually 4 of them. I'll just kind of pull them up here. There's the Scoobies, and then there's the original blend. That's the first one that I made. And that's the original blend, and it's got the 7 mushrooms in there. So it's got the chaga, the cordyceps, the reishi, the turkey tail, lion's mane, shiitake, and maitake, and then it's got the golden teachers. And then what I did is I used some of the herbs, because my very first thing that I ever made was a version of Scooby snacks. So I added a couple of the things from that, which was the ashwagandha and the Bacopa minori and Siberian ginseng.
Now, what are those going to do in conjunction with, like, say, your golden teachers or the psilocybin in there? How is that going to help?
Calm and clarity. The ramp up, like sometimes if you do small amounts, you're not supposed to feel anything, but sometimes if you do, you get that little bit of gut. This helps to quell that down, and then it helps to just keep you calm and clear. Not tunnel vision, but whatever you look at, it's just clear, and you're in more of a calm. So let me go to the Scooby first, because that's actually the very first thing that I'd ever worked on.
You guys need to go to @ease.com.
I'll pull up the link for you guys and post it in there.
Oh yeah, it's @-eze.com or @eze.ca. We've got both of them. So the Scoobies originally.
I want to try to get this stuff on Vega too.
Yeah, totally.
It's so.
Originally, my buddy had introduced me to some Scooby snacks, and I thought he was making them. And then one day he said, "Yeah, I'm not doing those anymore." And I thought he meant he wasn't making them anymore. So I said, "Oh, do you mind if I, make my own version?" He said, "Have at her." What he didn't tell me was he was actually getting them from somebody in Seychelles that actually still makes their version, which I found out years and years later. But I took it. There was things about it that I wanted to modify. So because I don't like that stomach feeling. So at that time I added white willow bark, cinnamon, just a couple gut calmers as well, and a couple mind openers. And that we're going back almost over 20 years now. We're going back 30 years for those ones. So I was microdosing without even knowing what microdosing was at the time. And all I was doing was going, wow, when I do one of these, man, everything is better. So there was about a 2-year run I was doing them, and then other people were doing them, and then people wanted some. And then I had a friend come by and ask for a ridiculous order while I was making them 16 at a time. And and I just went, I'm out. I'm out. And I quit making them at that point too. I didn't end up doing anything with them for quite a while. And then I started them up again. Probably, I guess, about 10 years ago, maybe. And which was still before I knew anything about microdosing. But they're 0.25, so I would always feel them, right? I would do them, I'd feel it. It's like, okay, and then the calm comes in after that rise, right? It's like, beautiful. So it just kind of stayed what it was up until I learned more things about nootropics and adaptogens. So the current version.
And that's your Facebook group too, which is a really good one for anybody who's on Facebook to get into. It's called Microdosing
macrodosing,
the nootropic.
yeah.
Now I'm hearing a lot about that, and with the adaptogens that you're taking, especially while microdosing, and how important it can be for like neuroregenesis. And a lot of these things that where the people are able to start actually rebuilding neuron pathways and creating new ones that have been damaged. And have you been able to do any type of work with that, or?
Well, most of my stuff is designed around that, because when I made these, I made them for me. So I went down the rabbit hole of what happens with PTSD and the damaging of the pathways, the creating of the loops, the neurological aspects of the behaviors. And I went, how can, what can I do to heal this? And a lot of it was Reddit blogs, actually, to find a lot of stuff out. And a lot of the stuff that's in here was also taken from concussion, people trying to heal their concussions, and little things they'd found that had worked. And then I would look up the science of why it might work and if it might work for what I was looking for.
It started as individualizing for each person that was coming to you, which I always appreciated.
You're getting those downloads before you even knew you were going to be working with, or other people are going to be working with it. You're seeking out actively that kind of information. You're getting those connections.
Well, I'm trying to make myself heal, so I'm getting as much knowledge as I can. I'm going down. There's a lot of talking heads. If you watch the internet, there's a lot of talking heads. Television, a lot of talking heads. I don't believe anybody. My trauma made it so I don't believe people. Yeah. So if you spout something out, like in my in this one here, the 7 mushroom, it was 7 mushrooms with rhodiola. There was no cacao. I watched a doctor in a podcast talking, and he was talking about how he healed himself, and out of his mouth came, well, most people don't know that 5 cups of raw organic cacao a week can double your stem cell growth, and that's all part of healing. To me, I immediately went, bullshit.
You'd have 15 a day.
I'm down.
Well, I went down the rabbit hole and started looking up the published studies, and there's published studies to support all of it. There's published studies to support that it actually helps with neurogenesis as well, right? And lion's mane. Well, lion's mane's got all of those published studies behind it as well. Not only does it help to regrow brain tissue and nerve endings, but they're saying that it regrows the telomeres on the end of the nerve endings,
which helps with aging.
That's what aging is.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So, and a lot of people will go.
Alcohol does the opposite. BTW.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about telomeres, was when I was getting sober.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
And I learned about it just through trying to figure out how to heal my brain, because I'm also post-concussion syndrome, right? I've been in the wrong place at the wrong time numerous times. I've been jumped by gangs twice and had my head used as a football. One of them, I had a chair smashed over my head. And I know I had concussions because they sat there and said, yeah, don't go to sleep for 24 hours because, you might not come back. So.
You're also a musician, right?
Audio guy.
So that, I believe you probably had some audio trauma, ear trauma, if you're in concerts, I would imagine, or something, that can play along, I've heard, with your brain health as well.
Well, frequency is everything. That's the one thing I am learning. If we break everything down to its finest point, it's quirks and quarks, as far as we know at this point, and they're moving, which means they're an energy that's moving, which means they have a vibration and they have a frequency. So, in our language, it's easiest to just say frequency, but I'll leave it there.
But there's more to come. Oh my gosh. No, it's so true. Like, I'm thinking about, like, even sitting in ceremony when we were doing cacao or bufo or anything. It's like, and then the sound people are there. you know, the ones where music is their medicine, which is an ancient medicine. It's like that stuff is everything. And music today, I think, is a little bit
There's some
like
people that say that there's
the same.
well, there's people that poo-poo the aspect of music today, but A440 as a tuning was picked by Goebbels during the war. And in that time, they're playing radio in the factories where they're manufacturing. And if you bump everything up from A430 or A432 in that zone where it's harmonious with nature, if you bump it up just a bit, you create a bit of angst, and angst creates higher production. It was all done just for production. You up the production.
Just like coffee being put into our schedules and routines and daily habits. And then, you know, one addiction opens the gateway to another and another.
Well, it's funny that, you know, certain ones are all okay, but others are really bad. You know?
It depends on if you're getting dependent on it and if you're hiding it or talking about it. You know,
well,
if
it depends on if lots of people are making money in the right places or not with it. If it's on the stock market, it's okay. Because the stock markets support the economy, and the economy, it's a global economy, and we need to look after our global economy. You know, but, you know, in the end, is it good? We have programs constantly run on us, and when we start to heal, we start to see the programs. One of the problems that I have currently is I can't unsee the programs. And sometimes I really wish I could, because it hurts a lot of my friendships. What I'm learning is to just not speak them anymore, because as my trauma used to make me try to help everybody. And what I've learned in healing is that just supply the tools. They can only really help themselves, and just have the tools available if they want them. Yeah. You know, if somebody thinks they need a screwdriver, then they need a screwdriver, whether they actually need a hammer or not. But until they discover they need a hammer, they're going to keep asking for a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And that also protects your peace.
Yes.
You know,
yes, it's brought me a lot
of similar, like with the, you know, trauma responses and stuff like that. And it weighs, you know, it weighs heavy on you, on your soul, on everything else when you're trying to help everybody and thinking that you're going to be able to make a change, and then them not do it right, and then you're just like, why not? It's just, yeah. So
but healing is learning to let that go, and learning to discern between it. Oh, I you know, with me, we're small. We're not a big company. We're small. And there's times we actually run out of product and we're trying to scramble to get caught up. So for me to go out and nag people to take the product defeats the whole purpose, because then there's not product for the people that want it. And it's been a slow learning process for me. You know, I didn't start out having a company. I started out creating stuff to help myself and my family heal. And, you know, my partner, John, I always have to give him kudos. You know, without John, there would be no company, because that wasn't my vision. And for the first year or so of this company, it still wasn't my vision. And I wasn't embracing the company. The company kept growing, and the products kept getting embraced, and the universe would throw me messages from people saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for this change in my life. Thank you for, you know, just, I've been flooded with many amazing thank yous. And it's just been in the last year that I've actually been able to embrace it and realize that that maybe I am the right guy to be doing this. Because for a long time, I just kept saying to the universe, you got the wrong dude, man. I'm the wrong guy. But, you know, I think it knows more than I do. So now I'm just going, okay, I see the pathway. I see what's embracing. And more than anything, I see my healing finally. And That's been a long pathway. I've been able to see other people heal, but I couldn't see my own. And the universe has put the proper people in to mirror it back to me. So I hear it, I see it, and now I'm embracing it. And now I lovingly share it rather than begrudgingly share it.
Yeah. I think, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's beautiful to see. Like, I've seen you grow so much in like just the time that I've known you, which is like maybe a year and a half, something like that. But when I hear stories from like before or from other people that have known you for longer, it's like, it's crazy to see. And I know that there's a lot more coming too. I think part of it is realizing that it's not about really stopping talking about it. It's about just finding other ears and being okay with not like being the change for the people that you want. Like, you can't control that people that you want to help, but there are other people that want what it is that you have to share, whether it is in a product form or verbally or like through skills or knowledge or whatever. If you're getting those calls, which sometimes sometimes it takes a while because you need to get it from a bunch of different areas, but when you can learn subtle, then you can move a lot faster. And I think that's part of your healing journey too, is as you learn subtle, now there's more and more momentum coming because you're taking those signs and those messages.
Well, as you learn subtle, you hear more language, right? The language of Hape. When I first did Hape in the jungle with ayahuasca, did nothing for me, as far as I know, right? I couldn't hear that language. It took a bunch of healing to get me to a point where, now I understand the language of Hape. And not only do I understand the language of Hape, I'm understanding the language of the different Hapes and the subtle differences between them and the power they have. It's in learning subtle, the clarity and purpose of ceremony came into view. Because coming from a science point of view and always looking for the published studies, the aspect of ceremony, not so much poo-pooed as I would watch and not understand. But I could see it. I could see the passion. I could see the love. I can see the energy that's being put in. I could feel the difference because of what the people would put in, And it wasn't until this summer, when you were out here and Cindy was here, and Cindy was adamant about the ceremony behind Hape. And I decided, okay, I'll try and embrace this, And well, you and I were at the beach when I got dropped to my knees because it was a little more powerful and I took a louder dose than I probably should have.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I'm learning about myself. I need a loud dose to know everything I'm going to feel so that when I do a small dose, I go, oh, here you are. But without that dose, I don't hear any of this. Mm-hmm. So that one out there, that was at the beach there, that one that dropped me, that was life-changing for me. That enabled me now to feel the subtle differences in what they do and the calm that it can bring into place, the breathing patterns, the essence of spirit. It's that is a magic medicine. Without feeling that level of subtle, I would never feel the subtleness of cacao. Now, I did cacao in the jungle in Mexico, and it was thick, it was powerful, and I felt it. But there's so much subtle vibration to cacao that I didn't feel and I didn't understand. Now I'm falling into it and going, this brings you to a level of peace that the medicines let me find levels of peace that I don't know exist. It's then my game to find that same peace without always using the medicine.
I love that. That is the true healing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, where's the applause button?
It's so true. It allows you, it reminds you that, hey, this place exists, you know, and then as somebody like Ashley, who's an integration coach, you know, now be able to integrate that experience into your daily life to where you don't have to use it all the time. And that's a powerful tool for anything, for really, if anybody's trying to overcome any type of maladaptive habits or addictions or anything like that. So,
and it takes time.
And it takes
really
healthy bodies. And with all these supplements for people that are having
Mm-hmm.
trouble eating, now you're able to get a lot of this nutrition in instead of having to worry about eating all this food, especially people that are detoxing. You know, they're not able to have the appetite to be able to get a lot of this stuff down. And so I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. And with the Hape, I've recently just been introduced to that the last couple months, and it's been life-changing for me. It's a beautiful thing. It brings awareness and channeling and reverence to a chaotic situation sometimes.
Yes. I actually did some. I did some with one of my daughters just short little time ago.
Yes.
And they, you know, they're downtown East Side, and it's very chaotic. It's as horrifying as the stories that are out on the downtown East Side. You know, there's just things that, you know, even they don't want to talk about because they are that horrifying down there. And you know, we took a moment where it was just one of those, we both had time. So there was about a 4 or 5 hour period where we were just hanging and just, you know, letting each other know that we love each other and that we care and that we're there for each other. And I asked her, I said, do you want to try some Hape? And I didn't even know whether she would notice or feel anything with it. So I was getting it ready, and I used Sunamenta. She has nasal problems as well, and as I do. And I find that it really clears things out, so that I did some earlier just so I'd be able to breathe nicely through this.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's Sunamenta Hape.
Okay.
So it's got mint to it, so it really clears out the nasal passages and opens things up for breathing. It just makes it, for me, it's just beautiful because it just enables me to breathe clearly, which is part of healing in itself. So while I was getting it ready, I mixed it with some beautiful thoughts, because that's just a beautiful Hape, and it's light and it puts it in a nice place. And while I was doing it, I went, I'm going to add, because I've done it for myself a few times now, I'm going to add a small amount of 5-MeO. And it's a microdose. Truly it is. It's a microdose in there. And
you want to do small, and this isn't a normal thing to be doing either. Like,
no.
But I already heard this story and I tried it. So please continue, and I'll
So I'd already done it myself a few times, and it would take me to a very beautiful calm. So I got her all ready, and I smudged and I did ceremony. And one of the reasons that I have embraced ceremony is ceremony is a historic aspect of showing gratitude. And gratitude through science has already been proven to be a very powerful energy. And as a science guy watching the ceremony and that happen, it took a little while for me to realize, oh, that's just an ultimate form of gratitude. You're not just giving, you know, gratitude, saying thank you for the medicine, but you're showing it for the lineage of the people, the history of what's brought that medicine to the forefront for us. So it's a great form of gratitude, and I've embraced that aspect of it. So we did the smudging ceremony, and I used sage, and I used copal, and I used Palo Santo, and you know, making it quite a nice environment. And I brought the lights down, and I got the hape and everything ready, and did ceremony and talked to the ancestors, asked for calm, asked for peace, asked to take her to a place that she doesn't believe exists. And then I served her with it. And she sneezed half a dozen times and her nasal passages cleared out. And she fell into a breathing pattern and she sat there and we just kind of talked for, I don't know, just a couple of minutes. And then I put on some of the, the healing soundtrack of some of the music I like to listen to, which is all very calming and 432 aspect of tuning, and just had it playing lightly in the background. And we actually did a lot of just sitting and enjoying and breathing. And we hung out for a while, and she had to go later. And she said to me, she said, wow, that was incredibly amazing. That's the calmest I've been in a long time. Well, since then, she's also told other people, she's talked about it. I talked to her about it again, and it did. It took her to a place she didn't know existed. Her world is so loud that level of peace has never existed. And I like to think all I did was throw in a cognitive dissonance bomb. Mm-hmm. It exists. As loud as exists on that side, calm and quiet exists on this side. 5-MeO is the antithesis of fentanyl. She'd been using fentanyl that day, and 5-MeO and hape still took her to a place of calm she didn't know could exist.
That's beautiful.
It's opened up a lot of hope for me, because part of my pathway and embracing these medicines is I'm also being given gifts of knowledge that I didn't know I was looking for. And a lot of them are healing aspects to help get people out of addiction, be it fentanyl and benzos, whatever. Because currently right now, our government here says you can't get out. And if you're in there, the only way they'll help you is to keep you medicated for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that. I refuse to believe that. I can't believe that. In humanity, that might be true, but in nature, that's not true.
They created a problem that they don't want to take care of, and now they know that they can profit off of it as well. So it's just that.
And they profit.
They get you addicted. They kick you off of the actual medicine, then they put you on a supplemental medicine like a methadone or Suboxone or something like that, and then you're there with no type of real help. A lot of these places are just mills. You're just going in there. There's no sit down with a therapist or anything like that to talk about maybe why you're even using to begin with.
Oh, dude, here on the downtown east side.
Their own addiction. So they're not the person to talk about addictions. You have to be talking about addiction with somebody.
On the downtown east side, you go put your hand up on the biometrics on the machine and it distributes your Dilaudid. You don't see anyone.
Yeah.
There's nobody there to say, are you thinking you might want to try and get clean?
Right.
Where they are, those are the people running around the streets, Narcanning, and kudos to the people that are doing that. The father of my grandson, Jordan, he's a powerhouse, and he's out there doing that constantly. It's, I would love to, but at this point, man, that's a little more than I have my days already. Oh, look at that for testing.
Yeah, just for people that want to be able to explore safely. You know what I mean? You never know where this stuff might pop up. And for people who aren't actively seeking it through harm reduction, their ways of it, that want to explore psychedelics or maybe some other types of entheogens or whatever, right? You can safely know what's in your substance, and that's important these days. So I definitely recommend testing everything, people. If you're not making it yourself, test it.
Yes, and carry Narcan because you never know what it's in.
It really, I mean, my mom, she's prescribed opiates, and during the COVID epidemic, she was taking the stuff and it shut down her liver processes. So she was taking her normal amounts, but she wasn't processing it all the way. So there was remnants of it, and she ended up overdosing. And they didn't know what was going on until she gets there, and then they have to end up hitting her with Narcan, and that's what brought her back. But it's really an epidemic, that's not going away. It's only getting worse. And the more we try to sweep it under the rug, the worse it is going to get. But I did, before we change too many gears real quick, why Bufo instead of NN? Is there a big difference? I haven't experienced Bufo yet.
I don't know a lot about NN.
Have you worked with NN yourself? Or am
No.
I the only one who's done both?
Yeah, I
wow,
haven't done
I'm the
NN.
one bringing this together.
We'll have to go.
No, I've done Bufo and I've done the synthesized version, but I haven't done the NN.
Yeah. And he's only done NN, different types of NN versions
different
of
synthesis,
yeah, different processes to make it.
And that was nice.
Yeah.
To experience the differences, like between the one that you had and the one my buddy prepared. Like there were differences, and yes, I took different strength of doses. I took a lot more, but it's there's not a lot of what you would call connoisseurs out there of this, right? There's not many people that are experiencing different types or production levels of it or whatever, and so like the gentleman you were talking to that one day, like was just the way he was talking. I was just like, holy shit, keep on talking, because there's levels to this shit, right? Like
people like taking it himself because he just doesn't want to try it from anybody else. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, just do it.
Yeah, at this point, my experience with 5-MeO, I did Bufo first a couple of times, which, is from the toad. And then I did the 5-MeO synthesized in a clinical environment. That was with Gareth Moxie from Dosed. And that was completely different than the Bufo, because the Bufo I did with Mexican practitioners that do it in a ceremonial aspect and in the spiritual aspect.
Now, clinical, what do you mean? Are you hooked up to monitors? Are you in a sterile environment?
It's a sterile environment. I'm in a bed. It's nice. It's clean. It's beautiful. There was insufflation first for about a 20-minute, 30-minute get your ride going. Then you do your first bit, just a handshake. And then after you start to step back into reality, then it goes with the hug dose. And then once you step back into reality, you go with the takeoff dose. Whereas with the Bufo, you put it in, you hit, you go. And when you come back, if you require more, it's like, okay, go again. But it's not really a handshake, hug dose, and go. And it was more... They're different, but our language doesn't really give us the ways to describe the difference without sounding a little bit crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Just like when I tried to explain the differences between the two DMTs and NDMTs, there's very differences. Like I know I can feel it. I can see it in my mind's eye, my third eye. I can still taste it, feel it, everything, right? But to just verbalize it doesn't work.
It's differences, like how there's a difference between a frog or a toad and a plant.
Well, one is rooted in the ground but growing up in the sun, and that particular toad stays under the ground for like 10 months a year, so it stays in the frequency of the planet's vibration. So even though they're molecularly the same, energetically they're different.
Mm-hmm. And they manifest in matter differently.
Yeah.
And the look of them are different too. Like even the look of the different extracts of the plant DMT, but also like I can never get over what it looked like the actual toad bufo was like translucent glass out of Alice in Wonderland. I was like, this is really crazy to see. Like, it almost seemed unreal, but beautiful. And it reminded me of like just shattering all of reality, which is what it does.
Well, I find that the synthesized, it does it. It's got all of the magic is there. And in the teaching that Trina, my instructor, was doing, she kind of goes off the aspect, which makes sense as well, that that particular substance is its protection. And if we take its protection, it takes a while for that to come back. And, if we have the ability to synthesize it and not disturb the animal, then, there definitely is a place for that, because it is a powerful healer, and it's going to help a lot of people in addiction, and it's going to require a lot, because there's a lot of people in addiction.
Yeah, and it's happening all over the planet, and a lot of these medicines come from just certain pockets of the world, and this is why there's such a big push from people like Paul Stamets to have everybody on mushrooms, because a lot of people that are ancient psychonauts have like old souls that have been here and like remember the medicine, like held on to that stuff for dear life when we came back to this world. It's like, there's this knowing that was already there, that it's going to get big and that this is going to be needed. And now it's showing face. So it's so important that conservation, because like mushrooms, they grow everywhere. Weed, you can grow it anywhere. But like these toads, the Sonoran Desert toad, the Campbell frog, like they only make their medicine in certain areas. Ayahuasca, to grow some of the materials needed to make that brew can take an entire decade. So this conservation is so very important. And
and it's responsible for us to keep that reverence of what we're using and keep
have
that
respect.
in mind.
And reciprocity too.
A lot of people want to take the medicine or something, but I don't know. I think there's some dues you have to pay. I don't know. I think it is for everyone. Everyone should try it.
I think it'll appear when the people are ready. That's what I'm finding with almost everybody that, in my
past. There's so many medicines.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been called some good old fashioned
These are just
LSD.
These are just some of the plants that are psychoactive.
Just a couple.
Just a couple plants. All right. When it comes to like frogs, fish, other things that are out there, there's quite a bit. When it comes to mushrooms, there's 200 minimum and more that are coming because of cultivators. And, there's enough medicine to go around. It's about, having respect, giving back, figuring out which ones are for you, because like diet and nutrition, which I studied and got certified in, is like there's no one diet for anybody. And that diet for that person's going to change from when they're a child to when they're mid-age to when they're an elder. So there's going to be different medicines at different stages, and different things are going to call you. So it's about learning subtle so you can listen and get the messages for what's for you at certain times. And then follow through, listen. That's part of saying thank you.
Oh, look at that big old conch there.
Yeah. We need to do something with it, but I just like looking at it, so I keep it around.
Yeah, I got a couple like that too. That I keep them because I like looking at them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's awesome. I think it's absolutely wonderful what you've been doing. Ashley has spoken very highly of you, basically since I've met her, and I'm glad that
to everybody all the time.
So able to sit down and meet the man behind it all, and I think it's wonderful that you are answering the calling now and you're being receptive to it, because you do have a lot to offer. Even my mom the other day was commenting on your mushroom coffee blend thing. Absolutely loves it, so she's all the way down in Bama, so you have a far reach with,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we're going to see about making that one something that we can make go all around North America easily.
What did you learn this year at the
Spirit Plant Medicine Conference?
Yeah, what were they talking about?
So
you met some amazing people. I know you love Gabor and you got to spend some time with him. Like, what were the big
Cindy got a hug from him. Cindy went in to get her book signed, and she put the book down, and he took it and he was signing it. And she, you know, she wanted to express how much he meant to her. And the tears welled up, and she started to talk, and he signed the book, and he looked up, and he just stood up and gave her a great big hug. She was, as far as I know, she was the only one that got a great big hug, but it was well deserved. And one of the big things I saw was that people that have been doing things like, even just for me, Cindy was twice. Once was that one with Gabor, and the other was we're at the after party, and I'm outside having a puff, and I'm chatting with a gentleman, and his name was Nicholas, and I'm chatting with him, and I asked him, "What do you do? Like, why are you here?" Because I didn't see him at the conference, and he says, "Dosed." I said, "Pardon?" He said, "Dosed." I said, "I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying." He said, "I'm the producer, one of the producers of Dosed."
Oh.
And I laughed and I said, "Oh, I haven't seen your movie, and hopefully you're going to find this funny. But my podcast partner, Cindy, for the last 2 weeks has said, you need to watch this movie. You need to watch this movie. You might meet the guys from Dosed." And again, I have identical twin daughters in addiction, and I've got a little thing I call Double Dosed as a proposal for a movie for them. And I'd been talking about that. I'd mentioned it to Cindy. So she's like, "You might meet them." Well, we didn't get a chance to watch it, but I actually meet the guy. So I'm standing there talking to him, and Cindy's upstairs. She was talking to some people, and I went out with somebody else to have a puff. And she texts me, "Hey, where are you?" I go, "I'm outside." So we're under the stairs, and I hear her come out, and she's like, "Well, he's out here somewhere." I said, "Hey, come on down." Now, I think she knows Nicholas and Tyler. I think she knows them because she's talked about them so much. And she comes down, and I go, "Hey, Cindy, have you met my friend Nick?" And she goes, "Oh, hi, Nick." And she, shakes his hand and stands there. And I realize she doesn't know who it is. And I go, "Hey, Nick, can you tell Cindy what you do?" And he goes, "I'm one of the producers of Dose." Well, she's holding a cacao, and she's holding her bag, and she just turns to me and hands them to me. Her eyes just well up with tears, and she gives him a hug. Now, 10 minutes before this, I've said to him, "I just want to thank you for we've chatted for a bit, and I've told him about my girls and my idea and whatnot. And I tell him, I just want to thank you for everything you've done and everything you're doing. I said, you've changed people's lives, and I've met those people whose lives you've changed." And now, right now, Cindy just hands me the stuff, tears in her eyes, gives him a huge hug, and says, "Thank you, for saving my life." And he's looking at me, and I go, "She's one of the people I'm thanking you for." And Tyler comes walking over right at that moment, and we get to meet Tyler as well. So she gives Tyler a big hug. I give him a hug, and it was one of those magical moments. But I thought for a minute there when what are the odds that the guy I'm standing here with is the guy from Dosed, and Cindy nagged me for 2 weeks to watch the movie, and I didn't.
How long ago was it that she watched it? Because that movie started her journey.
Yes,
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2 years, a little over 2 years ago.
That is the medicine calling you. Yeah. That's the Iboga one, right? Dose?
Yeah.
Is it the Iboga one? Dosed? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to definitely check that out. I first got called to that a long time ago when I heard it, and they were doing trials in Canada and South America, and I think out in Cali, and then the government went and did their thing. This was way back when they were talking about it in High Times. That's where I was getting my information. But I do believe they have ibogaine clinics up in Canada right now, operational.
There's definitely people working within it. Gareth is one of them. He works with ibogaine. Mark Howard works with ibogaine, does the iboga. You know, Mark Howard is a fully fledged shaman through the Bwitwi tribe. Patrick and his wife as well have just come back. Like the people that have been put into my pathway, I find it just humbling and mind blowing, actually, and I'm just honored to actually meet them, let alone be in the same areas that they're in. It's an absolute honor to even you, Ashley. Hey, look, my new tattoo. You introduced me to Cambo. My first and only tattoo. It's the Cambo frog.
Yeah, but I told you don't mix the business and the pleasure in with each other. Here we are on the show. The one thing I said not to do. It's all good. What a memory, though. I mean, you spent a lot of your life in the rock and roll industry, traveling with bands that are tattooed head to toe, and you never did it once until Cambo, which is a kind of a tattoo in itself. But then we got the ink out and has even more.
The Cambo was all about detoxifying.
Yeah.
And I didn't have tattoos because of a toxic belief.
Okay, I can dig that. Yeah.
Right? So my daughters are covered in tattoos from head to toe. For me, I just always went, I didn't get it. Right? Everybody thinks theirs is special. Well, yes, everybody's is special to them. But from my end, I watched, as a rock and roll guy, I watched things like, Tommy Lee's got Mighty Mouse and a drum become full sleeves, I got to outdo the X guy. I'm going to get tribals. I got to outdo and to me, that's what I saw. I saw people struggling to outdo the next person. And I'm tired of struggling, and I'm not trying to outdo anybody. But the medicine detoxified something from me, and it brought me an understanding of, that's just a toxic thought in my head that keeps me from having unconditional love, not only with my daughters, but anybody that has a tattoo, because I've laid a condition down, and the conditions have to go.
And you did it.
Best way to get rid of it. How do you judge?
Yeah.
Right? Now, if I judge anybody, I'm judging myself. Well, I'll judge myself first and make sure I'm judging it good. And I'll just carry that along and not judge anybody. There's me babbling again.
That's good.
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's been all good babbles. Babble on. For sure.
Tell me some more about this training that you were doing yourself with Bufo. Because actually before, I knew that these kinds of things were coming for you because I knew you had a really important why. Like your whys, you were called to this medicine long, long ago, probably from a past life, an old memory. But also your daughters are a very, very strong why. Bringing your family together, that's a really strong why. And then when I saw you, how you just gathered beautiful people to work with Miriam and Anki. And I was like, wow, this guy is you were on it, in that flow, leading to the medicine. And so even though it everything kind of has been going faster, I think because of the learning subtlety, to be honest, just, because that was a really big thing that you were working on. And yeah, now things are just spiraling in a good way. And so share this training, how you got from the original calling to Bufo to then bringing other people and introducing them to the medicine, and then to doing your training, which is with the synthetic for the reasons that we've discussed. preservation of the toad?
Well, the Bufo found me through my friend Lisa that I had been in Mexico with. And she's, honestly, she's my introduction to ayahuasca. She was the reason I got to be up in the mountains with Maria Sabina's family doing mushrooms. She was the introduction to Changa. She was the introduction to a lot of the newer plant medicines that I hadn't, I'd been looking for Aya for a long time. I'd heard Aya and I'd been looking. And it would appear and disappear and appear and disappear and appear and disappear. And then, one day Lisa said, "Hey, do you want to go to Mexico on a healing journey?" And we did. And, that getting those medicines and experiencing them and then coming back here and integrating as I'm here and working within my own stuff, my own products and healing in my family. And then she was introduced to Miriam in Mexico. And again, this is, part of the universe has bigger plans than we can ever see. So she meets Miriam in Mexico through a friend, does Bufo with her. Miriam is a Bufo facilitator, so she does Bufo with her and ends up, Lisa is a pet sitter down there for people. So she ends up looking after their dog while they come up here to Vancouver because Miriam's sister is up in Squamish and going to have a baby. So what are the odds that the connection in Mexico is going to land right here?
Yeah,
and
it was meant to be that. Those are the synchronicities.
Yeah.
But that was a loud one. That wasn't the subtle ones you gotta look for. That was the loud one. You gotta do this.
That was my introduction. And then when I was going to do it, I got loud with everybody in my circle that I knew could probably use it from all the research I'd done and the info I gathered. I had a certain batch of friends that I was like, "Hey, do you want to come and do this?" And we all went up and we did it. We did individual, but while the group was there, for the first 5 or 6 of us, but none of us knew any different either, right? So we didn't, Miriam, that was her first time doing a group session like that because she always would do one-on-one. But what we learned in that group was the healing that was required for the members in that group required a lot of the other members in that group to be there. So when somebody struggled, like a lot of times when you're on your own journey, even as I've learned as a facilitator, when a person's is struggling, we have to discuss ahead of time what type of touch you're okay with. Because sometimes we'll see somebody struggling and we'll want to reach out and we put a hand on their shoulder. Well, if they're in the middle of their journey and you've brought them halfway back or disrupted their journey, you're not doing them a favor. And we need to learn where our place was. In this particular one, all of us required the understanding that there's people out there that will jump to your service to give you love in a moment of struggle, because all of us didn't consciously believe that existed. And every one of us had that moment shattered with the cognitive dissonance came in. We all had a moment of, oh, this is beautiful and this is healing. And it was, it wasn't the heart of, and, we're all walking our different paths. A couple of them have done it again. A couple of them haven't. They're still integrating. The biggest part of it all is integrating the messages. And the messages can be very, very scary. But
yes,
one has to know going in that these medicines deliver messages from a place of love. Even though they're scary, we have to view them from the energy of love.
There are no bad trips. It's happening for you, not to you. Just like in life, life can beat you up. And this is where trauma comes in. But where freedom comes is by understanding that it's happening for you, not to you. It's by taking responsibility for where you are and finding where's the love in that. Where's the lesson in that? How can I love that lesson, even though it sucks? Of course it sucks. We all know it sucks. But
some people won't look at the lesson because they think the lesson is coming from a place of darkness. That's why ahead of time we have to ingrain.
That's the trick.
It comes from a place of love. And your trauma will make you look for the darkness. But you need to look for the light. And if you can't find the light, then you need to discuss with other people.
Discuss the darkness, get it out of you so that you can fill that space with light.
Yes.
Or journal it. If you can't talk to anybody about anything, talk to yourself. If you don't like to write or don't know how to write, audio record or talk to text because
I'm finding right now video. Go to video and look in your eyes as you're talking.
Oh, in your own soul.
Super powerful.
Sheesh. You're talking.
Crazy. Yeah, super powerful. I've just started doing that, and it's like, wow, this is, well, it's broken me down. The first time I did it, I broke down and was crying. I was like, holy shit, this is very powerful. And when the messages are just thoughts in your head, they're just electrons bouncing around on pathways. They're neurons, electrons. It's electricity and vibration bouncing. And that creates
frequency
anxiety in itself. Whereas when you speak it, even if you're speaking it to yourself, so journaling by speaking or writing is very powerful in itself because it either comes back through your eyes and refiles or it comes back through your ears. We know how to file stuff that comes in through our eyes and our ears. The stuff that just comes into our brain, we're not really taught how to file that stuff properly.
That's because we're being stuck in the lower frequencies and lower vibrations of that chakra system, which I did share a video of you and me doing a teaching of that earlier this summer. It's already on Psychonauts TV.
Well, you were just talking earlier about deliberately changing the frequency of radio and TV programming so that you are kept on this kind of ad-edge level.
And those are actually made from crystals. Quartz crystals, like how you get those frequencies. And same with a lot of the stuff that are in the tech, which tech is kind of like a black mirror, which can, if used for the wrong ways, can be used for a lot of wrong.
Everything has duality.
Yes, but there's also a positive side of the dark stuff too. And it's good to know dark psychology. It's good to know what black crystals and black stones can do. And, there's a reason why witches wear black, and there are things. There is a good side to it all. It keeps you warm, for one. I like being warm.
It absorbs light. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that.
That's funny. I'm lost as to where we were. Got another question?
Where do you want to go?
You know what? That's a strange question. Because at this point in my healing, I'm only having ideas. I'm not making plans. And what I've realized is that the pathway that's put in front of me is not one I ever would have visualized and can't visualize, but I'm constantly amazed. And I like being in amazement way better than depression. So I'm just having ideas and looking. Now, one of the ideas I'm working on is utilizing the pathway of the various plant medicines to be able to help my daughters. And if the pathway works and they can find healing through it, then just like all of these products, that pathway will be shared. And both of my girls have recently said that, you know, they've seen me healing. They've seen the plant medicine stuff. Jessie got to experience the hape with a bit of the 5-MeO. She's open to trying this pathway to healing. Katie has recently said she is as well. And I'm just in the process of overthinking the overthinking to make sure that everything in the pathway is there. And
then something else will happen.
Well, it requires more than me. So I'm getting myself ready to do the asking of the people that will be required to make the healing truly happen, because it's way bigger than anyone.
I might be in Cali, so I might be able to help if there's a move from BC to Mexico.
You know, again, all I do is I say thank you and I leave the pathway open, because what I found is those that are supposed to appear will appear, and I just have ideas. So I'm putting together my proposal, and I will submit that out to the people that have been brought into my realm that I can see helping. And because that's an area that needs to be addressed and needs healing. So, you know, I have watched the movie Dose, and you know, I watched the healing of Adrian happen, and I've been involved with others that are healing, and I'm watching it happen. I know it's possible. So it's proving to others that it's possible. And having all the proper ducks in a row, right? The detoxing, cannabis oil, kratom, Amanita muscaria. You need the things in place to be able to start from, okay, this is where we're going to start, and we're going to walk, and then, you know, the microdosing, the integration. You got to have the integration as it all goes along, and you've got to take care of the drug addictions themselves and the physical aspects of that, get them ready and into a place of calm so that we can use the other medicines and take them to the facing and getting through the traumas and the healing of the heart brain connection, so that you lose your judgment of yourself and you can carry on healing. And then it's the microdosing, you know, maybe a microdosing ibogaine, maybe microdosing mushrooms. I don't know the exact pathway, but I'm being introduced to all of the medicines, and I'm trying to use that hyper vigilant, hyper aware, overthinking superpower to put this program together. And when I have it as far as my brain can put it, I will propose it out to the people that are out there that can, you know, take it to the next level. Oh, look at that. Yeah, Amanita muscaria, massive in so many ways. And I have to say thank you to you, Ashley. I gathered lots and I tossed it because I didn't have the time to research. But then, you know, when we were out with you, you introduced me to it in a different format. I started looking through. It was a great Amanita year. I picked probably 20 pounds of beautiful.
I was looking at pictures of what you got. That's awesome. It's so awesome. There's so many medicines in British Columbia where you guys are. It's a very abundant place, and there's a really big community there, you know, so there's a lot of support. And if it's in one spot, that can be replicated. There's a lot of hidden, closeted psychonauts out there. So
yeah, I'm one of them. Oh, used to be anyway. I kind of got outed. Hey, I used to be, but I got outed. I said to Cindy one time, I'm in hiding. And she just laughed in my face and said, you think you're in hiding. You're not hiding.
Oh, that's funny.
But, you know, magic words. Embrace being authentic no matter where you are. Just be authentic. When they measured all the frequencies, you know, they went, what emotional frequency do we put out as a human through the science of measuring them that is the strongest? And most people will think it's either going to be love or fear, but authenticity one. Love was second. But, being authentic is the most powerful thing that we can be. And
because that means loving ourselves. And how can you love anybody without loving yourself?
Well, I was who was it that said that to me? Oh my God, I wish I could give them kudos. I'm having a brain fart. They said to me, you can't, I think it was Mark Howard, you can't love your daughters any more than you can love yourself. So whatever love you have for your daughters, you actually just don't see it. To me, that was really powerful, because scientifically it's true. How can you generate what you don't have? So if I have it for them, I have it. If I have it, it's mine, which means I have it for me. But my brain gets in the way, and I think I don't have it for me. And because I think I don't have it for me, I create a reality where I don't use it. And I resonate in the dis-ease that comes along with thinking that you don't have it.
Hence the at ease microdose supplements with adaptogens and nootropics.
Only 0.11 in these. These are real microdoses.
Okay. Wow.
The second one was the main event version, which is really, really taking off. People are really loving this one. It's got the niacin, the lion's mane, guarana, spirulina, gotu kola, but I've added alpha GPC, magnesium L-threonate, and L-theanine in with it. And, there's stuff that crosses the blood-brain barrier, takes stuff with it. There's the added calmers, the amino acids in there. Everybody's magnesium deficient anyway, so that's just going to go in there. And then the clarity and the focus of that, just monster. But if you display ADHD behavior, this is the one that seems to be working for most people that are either extreme trauma or extreme ADHD behavior. And these are 0.25.
The Scoobies.
That's the Scoobies.
Those are the ones that I like.
Yeah, that's I told you to take for sure.
They're a 0.25.
This one's also good for PTSD, I think. Was it?
Actually, all of them.
It's like the eye.
Oh, the eye adapt?
Eye adapt.
Yeah,
that one.
There's the eye adapt and the nerve chill as well.
Yeah.
I don't have those
nerve
products
chill
with
mom
me. I wish I
uses.
did. But there's no psychedelics in there. Those are whole plant, high density nutrient aspects. And I've got people that are actually scared to try the microdosing that are just on the eye adapt with the nerve chill and finding wonderful calm just with that as well. Let me just click here because I think I have. What is the eye adapt is Siberian ginseng, white sage, holy basil, ashwagandha, schizandra, and a few others. I'm not going to give away the whole kit and caboodle, but.
Yeah, well, we're at about time anyway, but it's been awesome having you here, Steve. I've got your website and everything in the website, but for all you guys here right now, or if you're listening another way, it's at /ease.com or .ca, depending if you're in Canada or US.
We just kind of bought both of them. We have at -ease.com, which was the first one we got, which was our logo. And then a lot of people couldn't find it because they wouldn't put the dash in. So I picked up at ease, ATEZE.ca as well. So it's just the @ease.com has all the videos of John and I on Psychedelic Frontier and a lot more of the informational aspect. There's a section for videos where you can watch a bunch of the videos or read a bunch of the documents that helped me on my pathway of putting all this stuff together, actually, in healing. I stack them all on there to share the stuff that worked for me.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Thank you for everything you do and for sharing it. And, that's a part of, living that authentic part of yourself too, is like, you know, you were doing these things from a place of authenticity, and you're getting rewarded with it. And even though it's uncomfortable to move into that next area, I'm sure another part of your authentic self is to live that higher potential and to be of service. And that's exactly what you're doing here. So thanks for coming on. Thank you for sharing what you're doing and for just doing it.
Oh, thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share here. And a pleasure meeting you, DP.
You too. It was absolutely amazing talking. I hope we get to talk again soon. I really love what you're doing, what you're putting out there. And I'm really glad that you're starting to embrace the calling. Sometimes we don't like to listen to it, but it's an important thing and you're helping tons of people. So
thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Bye for now, you guys. Thanks everyone for showing up tonight. Have a good one.
Yes, thank you everybody that's watching and anybody else in the future that watches.
Yeah. Bye. Oh, I don't know how to turn Apple anything.